Iman Gadzhi just changed his offer once again, and so did Alex Hormozi. But why do they constantly change their offers instead of scaling an offer? And why do they constantly launch new things? And how can you use this for your business? That's what I want to break down in this video. So let's start with the word demand, because that's what it comes down to. Those guys in the info product space, they just understand how demand works. Demand on its core, it's basically the need that people have to buy something, okay? And how does this work? Well, generally people trade their money for value, right? And there's some core needs like water, food, shelter that will never go away. But info product, paying money for information is such a different thing that wasn't here like 100 years ago or a couple of 100 years ago, right? It is such a new thing. Maybe 100 years ago was books. Now it changed a bit, but like at least 1,000 years ago it didn't exist. So the whole thing is people don't actually need it. It's more like a desire people have. Let's say I want to change my life, so I want to learn how to build my own business. But the reason why people trade money for that information is different, right? And therefore, you need to understand how it works. And what those big guys are really good at, let's say Iman, Alex, etc., they understand that people in this market constantly want something new, because demand in the info product space will go down over time if there's too many people talking about the same thing. So therefore, they need to reinvent their communication versus what people are interested in right now. For example, now everyone is talking about AI because everyone is hyped about AI. So that's kind of where most of the demand is generally in the market, right? And if you would launch a coaching offer about AI with understanding what people demanding the most or needing the most around AI, how to build a business that will do blah, blah, blah for you as an example, your offer will most likely work. But if you have an offer that worked 3 years ago, it might no longer work. For example, we had a company that helped people go from 0 to 10K as a videographer. Now, this worked really well. When we started, we were almost the only ones that did that, and we grew from 0 to 250K in like 5 months. But after that, let's say after 2 years, we saw a lot of other coaches starting to talk about this. Generally, the internet started to talk about how to build a business around 0 to 10K. And there's so much information, so much knowledge that generally videographers, even though, and that is the delusion of this whole demand versus needs and everything, they thought that they know everything about it. Even though they're not at 10K, which is kind of like, yeah, delusional. But they thought, oh yeah, I know this. I do no longer want this. And therefore demand went down, and then it was much harder to actually make money with that coaching business. And that is exactly how we need to understand how that market works and how your market works. And I think one of the core things I would look into is definitely like competitors. I'm not a big fan of like looking what competitors are doing in terms of like, oh yeah, we could use this for our business. More from a perspective of what are they doing and how can we be different versus what is the market looking for, okay? And you find this out by running advertising campaigns, asking, doing surveys in your community, and really talking to people and understanding what's new. Also look at other markets, how other markets shift, because it's interesting. For example, I run or operate an offer that is in the business acquisition space. There is not hundreds of coaches doing business acquisition because it's a more complex topic. Therefore, demand is much bigger in this area than with less complex topics. Like, again, let's build a business from 0 to 10K. And that is why there's demand is still very high there for coaching offers, but it will shift over the years as well there, okay? So for your business, I would really look into, okay, how can we create ongoing need or find an ongoing need for ongoing value? How can we create ongoing value? And mostly it's like things your community needs in their day-to-days. So one of the things is software. We usually launch different smaller tools within an offer, and I know that costs a little bit of money, but if you're making below 100K a month with your offer and you don't really know how to scale it, it might be that demand is so low in this market, or you just haven't figured out the basics, right? But usually if you do around like 100K, couple 100,000, you should definitely like work on those things. And again, it's funny because a lot of software companies actually try to go into coaching, and the coaching tried to go into software more. But I really believe that that's what you need to figure out. You need to find out, okay, what's something our audience always need in their day-to-day, and how can we scale that and make it better? And yeah, like the info product, you just need to constantly reinvent. That is another thing. Like, for example, reshoot your videos, understand how you can implement AI into your offer and teach about AI more, right? And those kind of things. But that is just the core thing that you need to understand, how this whole thing works in the info product space, because it could be that you're hardly affected by the demand and you're not even aware that that's the reason why your marketing is so hard, or that's the reason why your sales is so hard. And also, I believe a lot of marketers or other agencies in the info product space, they're actually pretty bad. They're not that skilled. Like, bro, honestly, they're really, really bad in their services, but it's just so easy for them to grow with companies because there's a lot of demand in that market. But you see them dropping out and leaving the company and go for other offers once demand goes back and revenue drops, and they don't really know how to handle it. Because again, it usually comes down to the fulfillment, making the offer better. This is what I do for my clients. I reinvent offers, helping them shift the offers, or also build different, I would say, like info products or just products, like digital products within an offer, so they can make more money on the back end of the offer. Because ultimately, like in business, everything comes down to those things. First is demand. You need to have something on the front end that people actually want, because otherwise you're not going to sell it. But then on the back end, you need to have things that people need ongoing. And you want to keep a customer for as long as possible, obviously, right? Because if you keep a customer long, you collect money for a long time, your LTV goes up, and you can spend more money on the front end, the marketing. And that's kind of like how the perfect company looks like. For example, an accounting firm, they could spend a lot of money to win a customer, because customers usually stay for so long. That is so worth it, right? And that is what you need to understand. Okay, how can we shift the offers? How can we change our offer to, really keep customers long? What I learned with some of my clients is, again, smaller tools that people need in their day-to-days, reinvent your offer with what's the trend in the market, and really try to talk to a lot of people and understand what's really out there, right? Like, those things is what I would focus on. And if you have more questions, I still have a very small community here on YouTube, like just a few people, or on Instagram as well, but just send me a DM on Instagram and ask me questions. I operate a lot of big offers right now, like coaching offers right now, and talk a lot about this or work on this with my clients. So if you have a specific question, feel free to just DM me or ask me, or just drop a comment. And if you want to see more videos like this, let me know. Or if you have a specific request, let me know in the comments too. And that is pretty much everything I wanted to share about demand and how you could use this knowledge to your advantage in or for your business.